When I was 7, my older cousin sat me down at his computer desk and helped me play through Final Fantasy VI. It was my first RPG I ever played, and I can only assume he was being incredibly patient with me as I gradually beat the first dungeon. Eventually I got to Figaro Castle where I met the king, and when the game gave me the prompt to name him, my cousin turned to me and said, "Name him Kaz." Kaz. That was my name. That was my real-life name, and my cousin had effectively put me in this character's shoes. I cheered in my cousin's desk chair as the Kaz on screen made his daring escape from the bad dudes trying to burn down his castle, and I thought his set of tools were way cooler than Terra's magic. After all, who needs a fire spell when Edgar can just shoot the crap out of everything for free? My time playing Final Fantasy VI was brief, but I'm sure everyone watching this has had a similar experience to mine. Maybe you gave a character your name and felt empathetic towards their story because of it. Maybe you gave a character you liked your friend's name because they kind of reminded you of them. Maybe you didn't even give them a particular name, but still felt for them and have some kind of nostalgic memory about it. Final Fantasy VI and the series it's a part of is very special to me. Pretty much every game of the series has been well received, and it's hard to deny Final Fantasy VII's impact on nerd culture. It's a series that's found ways to re-innovate and change up the combat enough that every game, even if some of them may look similar, play differently. So when I saw Final Fantasy All the Bravest in the App Store in 2013, I thought it looked cool as hell from the screenshots. I mean, let's just start with the short form of the title, All the Bravest, which highlighted is ATB, which seemingly points to a mechanic that was started in Final Fantasy IV, the active time battle, also shortened to ATB. So maybe it would have similar gameplay to games like that, I thought. And hey, check it out, there's all kinds of classic sprite work, and they actually remade Cloud and his Buster Sword in full 16-bit style. That's so cool. And I'm sure with all these characters to play as in a giant party with tons of different classes, you have tons of tactics of taking down classic Final Fantasy villains restyled in 16-bit form. All of this for $4? Dude, easy purchase, period. And then you get into the game. And then this happens. Oh, you just tap on him and he attacks, and that's it. That's the whole game. That's right. All the tactics, all the special moves, all the planning and character growth of a Final Fantasy game has been reduced to just tapping on a character to make them attack. And you don't even get to choose what enemy they hit. The gameplay is just you sliding your finger up and down the right side of the screen, waiting for a character's timer to fill up so you can tap them and attack. There is no depth, there is no strategy, it is literally just this forever. Every battle gives you Gil and EXP. EXP increases your level, which adds new classes that can show up in your party. Gil does, I have no fucking clue what Gil does. Also, when you unlock a new class, it may or may not join you on the battlefield. The assortment of characters are entirely random because the game won't even give you the satisfaction of making your party because you bought Final Fantasy All the Bravest. Every time the enemy attacks, it kicks out one of your party members, and you have to wait 3 minutes for them to respawn. Or, you can purchase a lovely pack of hourglasses that instantly revive the party, and goddamn if this isn't some of the scummiest game design I've ever seen. So you're playing through Final Fantasy ATB because your life fucking sucks, and you might be asking yourself, hey, where's Cloud? Well, it turns out the devs actually count on your love for these classic characters because you can go over to the shop and spend $1.50 to get them on your team. Just one catch with the system though, you spend $1.50 and you get a random fucking character. This game didn't just fleece you for $4 to play it, it's prepared to make you spend up to $48 fucking Canadian to get the character you want. Some of these random characters include Setzer, Steiner, Biggs in a Magitech armor, and hey, let's not forget everyone's favorites, Pig and an Imp. Remember those stats effects from Final Fantasy IV? Everyone's favorite fucking what the fuck is this? Why do video games even exist? And hey, wait a minute, this list doesn't even include Edgar. What's even the point of buying this shit if I'm not in the game? I mean, at the very least, these additional characters have their own unique animations, but honestly, Finding the positives to this game is like finding the positives to getting kicked in the balls, or finding the positives to eating shit. But if you think this disservice to everyone's wallets and me ends here, you would somehow be wrong, because there are additional purchasable maps you can buy that somehow cost more than the app itself. How very interesting that the 3 best-selling Final Fantasy games are mysteriously cut from the game and added as DLC. You know, it's as if the developers knew people would want to play through these sections and fleece them out for an additional cost, but hey, what do I know? I'm just the king of Figaro Castle. Final Fantasy All the Bravest is one of the most genuinely scummiest, most pathetic, most evil games I've ever played. It's designed to prey off the nostalgia of loyal fans, and despite it making the baseline requirements of a video game, there are some people who actually gave it a 5-star rating. But it feels like some of these reviews are so ass backwards that I have to seriously question if me and this person played the same game. I'm sure some of you might say, Kazanarius, it's just a shitty mobile game, why do you care so much? Well, other than not being in the game, I think as a community we're all doing a great injustice to each other if we're not actively shitting on business tactics like this. And while, yes, Final Fantasy mobile games have moved on to more subtle ways of taking your money like Brave Exvius and Opera Omnia, which I might get around to covering someday, the fact remains that this game is still on the App Store with a relatively high rating, and a good portion of that group somehow defending its gameplay as 5 out of 5 material. Fuck Final Fantasy All the Bravest. There are perfectly good ports of Final Fantasy 3, 4, 7, and 9 on the App Store that are well worth your money. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna delete this shit from my phone, and then burn my fucking phone. Bravo, Figaro!